The first time Serena Mensah realized she might not be leaving Santorini, it was not during an argument. It was during silence. A clean, expensive silence that sat between her and Caleb Whitmore like a glass wall, polished and invisible, the kind you only notice when you walk into it. They were on a whitewashed balcony above the caldera, where the sea looked like poured ink, and the sunset made strangers cry on cue. Caleb had booked the suite as if he had bought the horizon. Champagne arrived without anyone asking. A private chef waited like a secret. Even the air felt curated. Serena tried to enjoy it. She really did. Because when a billionaire tells you he wants you to relax, you want to believe him. You want to believe you are finally safe. You want to believe love has weight, that it can anchor you, that it can stop the old fear in your chest that says you are always one mistake away from losing everything. Serena had worked too hard to keep that fear quiet. She was 32, sharp, self-made, and careful. A project lead in a specialist engineering consultancy, the kind of woman who walked into rooms and made the temperature change, not because she was loud, but because she was sure. She had grown up watching her father count pennies at the kitchen table with a smile on his face, refusing to let stress become their family language. Kwame Mensah, her late father, had been the kind of man who made dignity feel normal. After he died, Serena kept moving because stopping felt like falling. She built her career, paid off her student debt, bought her mom a little flat, and learned the difference between people who loved you and people who loved what you could do for them. Then, Caleb arrived like a perfectly timed plot twist. He was charming in the way only powerful men could be. Not needy, not eager, not trying too hard. He listened like your words mattered. He remembered small details. He made you feel chosen, not chased. And when he proposed in front of a quiet crowd at a museum gala in London, the room clapped like they were applauding a happy ending. Serena thought, maybe I can stop running now. Now, on the balcony in Santorini, she watched Caleb's profile as he scrolled his phone. His jaw was calm. His shoulders were relaxed. He looked like a man who had never been told no by the world. Serena lifted her glass. To us. Caleb's smile was quick, practiced. To us. She waited for him to meet her eyes. He did, but only for a beat. Then his attention slipped away again, returning to the screen. Serena tried to ignore the small chill crawling up her spine, because the trip had been his idea, a surprise getaway, a reset. He said wedding planning stress was getting to her. He said she deserved sun and softness. He said they could sign the final paperwork abroad, away from distractions, just a simple meeting with his solicitor who happened to be holidaying nearby. When Serena asked why it had to be signed abroad, Caleb laughed like she was adorable for worrying. It's a prenup, babe. Routine. We've already agreed on everything. This is just the final signatures. Routine. That word. That easy tone. Serena had read the draft, twice, then a third time with a highlighter. She did not like the language. She did not like the sections that felt like trap doors, written in neat sentences. Caleb had called her cautious. He said, "You're marrying me, not the paperwork." Serena said, "I'm marrying the reality. Paperwork is reality." Caleb kissed her forehead and said, "That's why I love you. You're smart." Smart. It sounded like praise. It landed like a label. Now, in Santorini, Serena stared at her own phone on the table. No signal. Again, she leaned forward, tapping the screen. Nothing. She tried to laugh it off. "This island has beef with my network." Caleb did not look up. "That happens here." Serena frowned. "Your phone works." Caleb's thumb paused. "Mine's on a different plan." Serena nodded slowly, pretending that explanation made sense. Inside, she could feel a quiet alarm waking up. The next morning, the simple meeting happened in the suite. A man arrived with a leather briefcase and a smile that never reached his eyes. He introduced himself as Martin Leclerc. He spoke softly. He offered coffee. He laid documents out like a magician setting up a trick. Serena sat opposite him, her back straight, her mind alert. Caleb moved around the room like he owned it, speaking casually about dinner reservations, about a boat tour he wanted to book, about how Serena needed to stop looking so serious. Martin slid the papers toward Serena. Serena skimmed the first page, then the second, then the third. Something was different. A clause she had not seen before. Her finger stopped. This section here. It wasn't in the last version. Martin's smile tightened. Minor update, standard. It clarifies discretionary structures. Serena looked at Caleb. Clarifies what, exactly? Caleb leaned on the back of her chair like a boyfriend in a film. Babe, it's nothing. It's just legal housekeeping. Serena turned back to Martin. Explain it. Martin cleared his throat. In the event of separation, certain assets remain outside marital claims, as you're aware. This clause confirms that any discretionary distributions from family trusts remain at the trustee's sole discretion and are not considered marital property. Serena's eyes narrowed. So if we divorce and you choose to stop funding me, you can. Caleb laughed. Choose to stop funding you? Serena, please. You act like you're marrying a villain. Serena didn't laugh. If the trustees decide I get nothing, I get nothing. Martin nodded. Correct. The trustees have absolute discretion. Serena stared at the page. There it was again. Discretion. A polite word that meant power without responsibility. She put the papers down. I'm not signing this today. The room changed. Not dramatically, not loudly. But Caleb's smile thinned, and his hand tightened on the chair. Martin's eyes dropped, as if he'd been expecting this. Caleb's voice stayed sweet. Serena, come on, don't do this. We flew all the way here. Serena kept her tone calm. I'm not doing anything. I'm asking for time. I want my own legal advice. Caleb's smile stayed, but it became colder. We've been over this. Your lawyer is slow. You'll drag this out for weeks. It's embarrassing. Serena blinked. Embarrassing to who? Caleb's eyes flashed for a second. To me, to my family, to the people who were watching. Serena felt it then, the first clear crack in the picture she had been living inside. She was not just his fiancé. She was an asset in his story, a symbol, a decision already made. Serena said quietly, if it's embarrassing for you that I want to understand what I'm signing, that's a you problem. Caleb's face went still. Then he exhaled and softened his tone, as if he was dealing with a child who had become inconvenient. Okay, fine. We'll talk later. Let's not ruin the trip. Martin packed his briefcase without looking up again and left. The moment the door closed, Caleb's smile vanished. He turned to Serena. You've made me look weak. Serena's chest tightened. I didn't. Caleb stepped closer. You did. You sat there questioning my lawyer like I'm some crook. Serena lifted her chin. If the clause is normal, it will still be normal after I get advice. Caleb stared at her. Then he reached out, gently, and brushed her hair back like he was comforting her. His voice was calm again. You're tired. You're grieving. You've been under pressure. Let's go out. Let's eat. Let's reset. Serena wanted to believe him, because the alternative was a cliff edge. So she went. They walked through narrow Santorini streets, white walls, blue doors, tourists taking photos like their lives depended on it. Caleb held her hand, squeezed it when people looked, smiled at waiters, tipped generously, a perfect man, and Serena kept hearing the words in her mind. You've made me look weak. Later that night, Serena went to the bathroom and tried her phone again. Still nothing. She stepped onto the balcony, lifting it higher, searching for bars like she was catching butterflies. Nothing. She went back inside. Caleb was in bed, scrolling. Serena said, Can I use your hotspot for a minute? I need to email my lawyer. Caleb didn't look up. No, Serena froze. No. Caleb tapped his phone. Not tonight. Serena's voice stayed steady, but her heart started to race. Why? Caleb finally looked at her, slow, deliberate. Because I'm not playing these games with you on holiday. Serena swallowed. It's not a game. It's my future. Caleb's smile was small. Your future is me. Serena stared at him, and in that moment, she saw it. Not love. Ownership. She walked back to the table where her phone lay and tried again. No service. She opened her suitcase and pulled out her passport, just to feel it in her hands, like a talisman. It wasn't there. Serena went still. She searched again, more carefully. The side pocket, the inner zip. Nothing. She turned to Caleb. Where's my passport? Caleb's eyes flicked to her suitcase, then back to her. Why do you need it? Serena's voice sharpened. Because it's mine. Caleb put his phone down, finally. Serena, relax. Serena didn't move. Where is it? Caleb leaned back against the pillows like he was bored. It's safe. Serena's skin went cold. You took my passport. Caleb's face remained calm. I asked the concierge to store it. It's safer that way. Serena's mouth opened, then closed, because the lie was too smooth. The concierge did not store passports unless you asked, and Serena had not asked. Caleb watched her carefully. Don't look at me like that. I'm protecting you. You lose things when you're stressed. Serena's hands shook just slightly. She curled them into fists. I want it back. Now. Caleb's voice changed, not louder, just heavier. Stop. Serena blinked. Stop. Caleb sat up. You're making a scene. Serena laughed once, bitter. There is no scene. There is just you stealing my passport. Caleb's eyes hardened. I didn't steal anything. I'm trying to keep you from doing something stupid. Serena's heart pounded. Like what? Leaving. Caleb held her gaze. He didn't deny it. That was when Serena understood. He had not brought her to Santorini to relax. He had brought her here to corner her. The next morning, Serena woke up early, before Caleb, and went downstairs. She smiled at the receptionist, friendly, casual, forcing her face to behave. Hi, I'm checking something about our travel documents. My fiancé said the concierge was holding my passport for safekeeping. The receptionist looked confused. We do not hold passports unless requested, but I can check. Serena's stomach twisted. The receptionist typed, then shook her head. No record of that, madam. Serena kept her smile, even as her chest tightened. Okay, thank you. She walked outside into the bright Santorini morning. Her phone still had no signal. She tried to connect to the hotel Wi-Fi. It asked for a code. Serena typed the password she had used yesterday. Invalid. She tried again. Invalid. She went back inside, keeping calm, and asked the receptionist, Hi, sorry, the Wi-Fi password seems to have changed. The receptionist smiled. Oh yes, it changes daily for security. Your fiancé already collected today's code. Serena's mouth went dry. Her fiancé, already collected. Serena walked back upstairs. Her mind was moving fast now, not panicked, focused. She opened her suitcase and found the small velvet pouch she always kept tucked into a corner, the one she never showed anyone. Inside was a key. Old, brass-toned, heavy for its size. A safety deposit box key. Her father had given it to her the day he signed his will. He had been sick, thinner than she wanted to admit, sitting at the kitchen table with that same calm smile. He had slid the key across to her. Serena had said, Dad, what is this? Kwame had said, not for today, for one day when somebody tries to tell you what you deserve. Serena had laughed then. Who would do that? Kwame's eyes had been kind but serious. People who smile too much, people who talk about love like it is a favor. Serena had tried to argue, but he had held up a hand. Promise me you will keep it, not in a drawer, not in your jewelry box. Keep it close. Serena had promised. After he died, the key became a weight she carried, a reminder that her father had planned for a world that did not always plan for her. Serena pulled the pouch tight and slipped it into her pocket. Then she did something else. She took a pen and a hotel notepad and wrote one sentence. If anything happens to me, Caleb Whitmore took my passport and cut off my phone. She tore the page out and folded it small. Then she went downstairs again. Outside the hotel entrance, a car was waiting. A sleek black car that did not belong to the hotel. A man in a dark polo stood near it. Not staff, not tourist, security. Serena's stomach dipped, but her face stayed calm. She walked past as if she was going for a stroll, but the man stepped sideways, blocking her path with a polite smile. "Good morning, miss. Mr. Whitmore asked that you remain on the property today." Serena's eyes sharpened. "Asked." The man's smile stayed. "It's for your comfort." Serena held his gaze. "Move." The man did not move. Serena felt a flash of anger, hot and clean. Then she turned back inside, not because she was trapped, because she needed to move smart. She walked to the concierge desk and said, "I need to make an international call. It's urgent. My phone is not working." The concierge started to speak, then hesitated, glancing at something on his screen. Serena saw it. That brief pause, that invisible permission check. Then he said, "Of course, madam, we can assist. One moment." He picked up a phone. Then, just as he was about to hand it to her, a hand landed on the counter. Caleb. He appeared like he had been waiting for this exact moment, dressed in linen, fresh, smiling at the staff like a man greeting his own employees. "Morning," Caleb said warmly. "Everything okay?" Serena looked at him. "I need to call my lawyer." Caleb chuckled. "Not today, you don't. We are here to relax, remember?" Serena's voice went flat. "Give me my passport." Caleb's smile did not move. "Not until you calm down." Serena stepped closer, lowering her voice. "You're making a mistake." Caleb leaned in. His tone became intimate, almost gentle. "Serena, listen. You're spiraling. You're seeing threats where there aren't any. You sign, we go home, and this becomes a funny story we tell at dinner parties." Serena stared at him. "You cut my Wi-Fi." Caleb's eyes flickered, just once. "I asked them to secure it. Too many hackers here." Serena let out a slow breath through her nose, then she smiled, a small, controlled smile that Caleb did not understand. "Okay," Serena said softly. "Let's do it your way." Caleb's relief was instant. He kissed her cheek, performative. "Good girl." Serena's smile stayed. Inside, she was counting steps. That afternoon, Caleb insisted they go on a boat tour. Private, of course. No crowds, no witnesses that mattered. Serena stood on the deck, wind in her hair, the sea glittering like it was mocking her. Caleb stood behind her, hands on her waist, speaking into her ear like they were lovers in a postcard. "You see," he murmured, "this is what you needed. Peace." Serena nodded as if she agreed, but her eyes were scanning. The captain was a quiet, older man. 2 crew members, no other guests. Caleb's security man stood near the cabin entrance, pretending he was just enjoying the view. Serena felt a sudden clarity settle over her, as crisp as the salt in the air. This was not a holiday. This was isolation. Caleb wanted her somewhere she could not easily reach anyone, somewhere any story could be told about her later, a slip, a fall, a tragic accident. Serena's chest tightened, but she kept her face calm. Caleb offered her a drink in a crystal glass. Serena took it, held it, then smiled. "You first," she said. Caleb laughed. "Why would I go first?" Serena's tone stayed light. "Because I want to toast you properly, for being so patient with me." Caleb studied her for a second, then took his own glass and sipped. Serena lifted hers and pretended to sip, but did not swallow. She tipped it slightly, letting a little spill over the side when the boat rocked. Caleb didn't notice. He was watching her, not lovingly. Assessing. They returned to shore in the late afternoon. Back at the hotel, Serena went to the bathroom and spat the drink out, rinsing her mouth with water until the taste disappeared. Then she did the most important thing. She created a moment. At dinner, Serena smiled, laughed at Caleb's jokes, touched his hand, played the role he wanted. Then she said, "I want to wear the necklace my dad gave me. It's in my suitcase, but I can't find it. Can you help me look?" Caleb's eyes softened slightly, as if her father was a story he could use. Of course, he said. Upstairs, Serena opened her suitcase and started to rummage. Caleb joined her, pulling things out. Serena kept her voice light. You know, my dad always said not to sign anything when you feel pressured. Caleb rolled his eyes. Your dad was paranoid. Serena smiled. He was right about a lot. Then she said casually, the key he gave me, it's somewhere in here too. I keep everything important together. Caleb's head lifted slightly. Key. Serena nodded, still digging. Yeah, it's silly. I never even asked what it was for. Caleb's eyes narrowed, just a little. Serena felt a surge of satisfaction, because now she knew what he wanted, not her. The key. She kept searching, pretending to be frustrated. Then she said, Oh, maybe I left it at home. Caleb's jaw tightened, but he forced a smile. Probably. That night, Serena waited until Caleb fell asleep. He slept like a man who believed the world would always obey him. Serena got dressed quietly, slipped the velvet pouch into her bra, took the folded note from earlier, and left the suite. She walked down the corridor, heart steady, mind focused. At the lift, she paused, listening. No footsteps behind her. She went down to reception. The night receptionist looked up. Serena smiled and leaned in. Hi, I need help. I'm in danger. The receptionist froze. Madam, Serena kept her voice calm. My fiancé has taken my passport. I have no phone service. He has security outside. I need to contact the British consulate. The receptionist's eyes widened, darting toward the back office as if expecting Caleb to appear. Serena placed the folded note on the counter. Please keep that. If I disappear, you will know what happened. The receptionist swallowed hard. Madam, I cannot. Serena's voice stayed firm. You can. You can call the police. You can call the consulate. You can help a woman who is telling you the truth. A long beat. Then the receptionist nodded, trembling. He reached for the phone. A minute later, Serena heard footsteps, heavy, fast. Caleb's security man came in through the entrance, scanning. Serena lowered her head slightly, turning her face away as if she was just another guest. The receptionist spoke into the phone in Greek, quick, urgent. The security man approached the desk. Serena's heart pounded now, but she stayed still. The receptionist ended the call and looked at Serena. He whispered, Police are coming. The security man leaned on the counter. Everything okay? The receptionist forced a smile. Yes, sir. Just a room query. The security man's eyes flicked to Serena. Serena kept her face blank. Then, from upstairs, Caleb appeared, not in a rush, not panicked. He walked down like a man who owned the building. He smiled when he saw Serena. There you are. I woke up and you were gone. Serena turned to him slowly. I needed air. Caleb's smile stayed, but his eyes were sharp. At 2 a.m, Serena nodded. Yes. Caleb stepped closer, voice low. Come upstairs. Serena didn't move. No. Caleb's smile tightened. Serena, don't do this. Serena held his gaze. You did this. Caleb leaned in closer, his voice a whisper, soft enough that the receptionist would not hear. You think anyone will believe you. You think the police here will pick you over me. Serena's stomach turned, but she forced her voice steady. I'm not asking them to believe me. I'm asking them to do their job. Caleb's face hardened. Then, outside, blue lights flashed against the white walls. Police. The security man stiffened. Caleb's smile returned, smooth, controlled. He turned to the officers as they entered and opened his arms slightly, as if welcoming guests. Officers, good evening. There must be some misunderstanding. Serena watched him switch masks without blinking. One of the officers spoke in English with a heavy accent. Sir, we received call about passport and safety. Caleb laughed gently. My fiancé is stressed, wedding nerves, she misplaces things, we are fine. Serena's voice cut through, clear. He took my passport. Caleb's smile remained. Serena, you left it in the safe, remember. Serena turned to the officer. Ask him to open the safe. Caleb's eyes flickered again, just once. The officer looked between them. "Sir." Caleb sighed as if inconvenienced, then nodded. "Of course. Anything to resolve this?" Upstairs in the suite, Caleb opened the safe. Inside was Serena's passport. Serena's chest tightened at the sight of it, not with relief, but with rage, because the proof was right there. Caleb turned to the officer. "See, it was safe. She forgot." Serena stepped forward. "I did not put it there. He did." Caleb's voice became gentle again. "Babe, stop. You're scaring yourself." The officer looked uncertain. Then Serena remembered something. She turned to the receptionist who had followed them upstairs, nervous. "Did I ask you to store my passport?" The receptionist hesitated, eyes flicking to Caleb. Serena held his gaze. "Tell the truth." The receptionist swallowed. "No, madam, you did not ask." Caleb's smile froze. The officer looked back at Caleb. "Sir." Caleb's voice stayed calm. He must be mistaken. Serena stepped closer to the safe, reached in, took her passport, and held it like a weapon. Then she said, "Check my phone. It has no signal. Ask the hotel about the Wi-Fi code. Ask who collected it today." Caleb's jaw tightened, but he still looked relaxed, like this was all beneath him. The officer nodded slowly. Within minutes, the officer's expression changed, not fully convinced, but no longer comfortable. He said, "Madam, you come with us to station to make statement. Sir, you also come." Caleb laughed. "This is absurd," Serena said. "Then it should be easy for you." At the station, Serena finally made contact with the British consulate. A woman named Helena Pierce answered, voice crisp and kind, professional but human. Helena said, "Serena, you are not alone. We will support you through the process. You are safe right now." For the first time in 24 hours, Serena felt air enter her lungs properly. Caleb sat across the room, talking to a lawyer on his working phone, eyes fixed on Serena like she was a problem he intended to solve. Serena kept her face calm, because now she understood. This was not about love. It was about control, and control always hated daylight. Helena arranged for Serena to be moved to a secure hotel in a different area, with consular support and local police liaison. She also advised Serena to contact an independent trust lawyer immediately because of the prenup pressure and the jurisdiction complications. Serena nodded, exhausted. "I don't even know who to call," Helena said. "I do. There is a trust solicitor in London who has handled cross-border coercion cases. Her name is Sophia Langford. I can connect you." Sophia Langford called within the hour. Her voice was calm, direct, no nonsense. "Serena, tell me exactly what has happened, and tell me what you have that he might want." Serena hesitated, then pulled the velvet pouch from her bag. "The key," she whispered. "My dad gave it to me. Safety deposit box." Sophia's tone sharpened. "Do you know where the box is held?" Serena swallowed. "He never told me. He just told me to keep the key." Sophia said, "Then we find out, and we do it fast." The next day, back in London, Serena met Sophia in person. Sophia was the kind of woman who looked like she had never been intimidated in her life, not because she was aggressive, but because she was clear. Clear in her eyes, clear in her language, clear in her boundaries. Sophia examined the key. "This is not a hotel safe key," she said. "This is a bank deposit key, and it is older. Your father planned something." Serena's voice cracked slightly. "He never told me." Sophia nodded gently. "Sometimes fathers do not want to burden their daughters. They want to protect them quietly." Sophia made calls, traced the serial marking, contacted banks. 2 hours later, Sophia looked up. "I believe it is held at Hargreaves & Crown, private vault services, not your average bank. High security." Serena felt her stomach twist. Why would my dad use something like that? Sophia said, "Because he did not want anyone to pressure an employee at a local branch, because he understood power." They went together. Security was tight. ID checks, questions, cameras everywhere. Serena's hands trembled as she placed the key on the counter. A vault officer checked it, then looked at Serena. "We need proof of authority." Sophia slid documents across: death certificate, probate letters, identity verification. The officer nodded slowly. "One moment." When the officer returned, he carried a small black box. He placed it on the table like it was fragile. Serena stared at it, breath caught. Sophia said softly, "Open it." Serena's fingers were stiff as she unclipped it. Inside was a folder, thick and neatly arranged. Her father's handwriting on the first page. "To my daughter, Serena." Serena's eyes blurred. Sophia waited. Serena swallowed and began to read. Kwame's letter was simple, direct, and full of love. He wrote that he had seen how the world treated black women when they were successful, how admiration could turn into resentment, how romance could become a contract where the other person believed they were entitled to your peace. He wrote that he had created an independent trust in Serena's name, funded through investments he had built quietly over years, with an additional beneficiary clause that triggered if Serena was ever pressured into signing away her rights in a foreign jurisdiction or under coercive circumstances. Serena's breath hitched. Sophia leaned forward. "Read that again." Serena read it again. A clause, a lever, a safety net built out of love and foresight. Sophia's eyes narrowed as she scanned the paperwork. "This is serious. This trust is independent of any marital assets. Trustees are obligated to protect the beneficiary, not a spouse, and the trigger clause is very specific." Serena whispered, "My dad knew," Sophia said. "He knew enough." Inside the folder was another thing, a contact list, names, numbers, and instructions. One name stood out: family office accountant, Whitmore Holdings, confidential. Serena's stomach dropped. Her father had known Caleb's family, or at least he had known enough to prepare for them. Sophia tapped the page. "We need to be careful, but yes, we can reach out. Quietly." Serena's hands shook. "Why would an accountant help?" Sophia's voice stayed calm. "Because not everyone inside a powerful family is loyal. Some people are just trapped. Some people are tired. Some people have receipts." That night, Serena sat in Sophia's office and made the call. It rang twice, then a man answered, voice guarded. "Hello." Serena's throat tightened. "My name is Serena Mensah. I was told to contact you." A pause. "Who told you?" Serena swallowed. "My father, Kwame Mensah." Silence. Then the man exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for years. "Okay," he said quietly. "I know who you are." Serena's heart hammered. "Who are you?" "My name is Adrian Vale. I work in the Whitmore family office. Please do not call this number again after today." Serena glanced at Sophia, who nodded. Serena said, "Caleb took me to Santorini. He tried to force me to sign a prenup. He took my passport." Adrian's voice went cold. "I suspected he would. He has been escalating." Serena's stomach turned. "Escalating?" Adrian paused. "There is something you should know. There was an instruction issued from Caleb's side to cancel your return booking and flag your passport as potentially compromised, so any travel disruption could be framed as your fault. It was not authorized by the trustees." Sophia leaned in, her voice firm. "Do you have evidence?" Adrian said, "Yes, I have the instruction chain, email and internal approval attempt. He used an assistant's login." "Sloppy." Serena's chest tightened. "Why are you telling us?" Adrian's voice was low. "Because I did not join finance to help men like him erase women like you, and because I am tired of watching this family tidy up messes and call it reputation management." Sophia said, "Adrian, if you provide those records, trustees can freeze discretionary payouts pending investigation." Adrian exhaled. "That's exactly why I'm calling you back. I already forwarded copies to a secure address. I will send the details." Serena sat back, stunned. Caleb had tried to make her disappear, not by violence in the obvious way, but by paperwork, isolation, narrative control. He had tried to make the world believe she was unstable, forgetful, dramatic. He had tried to turn her into a cautionary tale, but her father had built a different story. The next morning, Safia moved fast. She contacted the trustees listed in the trust documents and requested an emergency review, citing coercion risk and unauthorized instructions from a connected party. She also filed protective measures for Serena, including a legal notice to Caleb and his representatives that any further contact should go through counsel. By afternoon, Caleb finally reached Serena, not directly. Through a message delivered to Safia's office, a short note. It read like a man speaking to someone he believed he still owned. "Serena, this has gone too far. Stop embarrassing yourself. Come back and we can fix this." Serena read it once, then she handed it back to Safia, her hands steady. Safia raised an eyebrow. "Embarrassing yourself? Classic." Serena's voice was calm, but there was fire under it now. "He keeps saying it like my dignity is his property." Safia nodded. "That is the point. He wants you to feel small enough to accept whatever he offers as mercy." Serena looked out of the office window at the gray London sky. For years, she had made herself palatable, polite, reasonable, calm. Not because that was her natural state, but because she knew what happened when black women were emotional in public. How quickly pain became a stereotype. How quickly fear became drama. Caleb had counted on that. He thought she would rather swallow discomfort than look messy. He thought she would rather sign than fight. He thought she would rather survive quietly than expose him loudly. He was wrong. 2 days later, the trustees made a move. They issued a formal notice to the Whitmore family office. Discretionary payouts to Caleb were frozen pending investigation into unauthorized instructions and reputational risk exposure. Frozen. One word that changed the temperature of the entire situation. Because Caleb did not just enjoy money, he enjoyed access, and access could be revoked. That same day, a tabloid headline appeared online. Not a declaration, a question. Billionaire heir accused of trapping fiancé abroad, a question mark, sharp as a blade. Serena stared at the headline, pulse racing. Safia sat across from her, calm. This is strategic. Nobody is accusing him in court yet, but the question invites investigation. It invites attention, and powerful men hate attention when they cannot control the angle. Serena swallowed. How did they find out? Safia's lips pressed together. Somebody wanted the question asked. Somebody inside his world is leaking. That usually happens when people smell blood in the water or when they want to protect themselves before the story breaks fully. Serena thought of Adrian. He had said he was tired. Maybe he was not alone. Caleb called again, this time through a different channel. His voice message came through Safia's office line. It was calm at first. "Serena, this is ridiculous. You are being manipulated by people who want money. You are ruining our future." Then it changed. "You think you can do this to me. You think anyone will choose you over me." Then it dropped lower, colder. "You are forgetting who you are and who I am." Serena listened to the message twice, not because she needed to, because she wanted to memorize the sound of him finally saying the truth without dressing it up. Safia looked at Serena. "We keep everything, every message, every threat. He's building your case for you." Serena's throat tightened. "He still thinks he can scare me." Safia nodded. That is what men do when they have never faced consequences. They treat fear like a remote control. Serena looked down at her hands. Her father's hands had been worn, hard-working, gentle. He had built her protection like an architect, and she was not going to waste it. Over the next week, the Whitmore machine tried to rewrite the story. A friendly article appeared suggesting Serena had been overwhelmed by grief and needed support. A source claimed Caleb had been protecting her after she misplaced her passport. Another hinted she had been difficult about the prenup because she was confused about finances. Serena read every line, jaw tight. Safia did not flinch. "This is predictable. Sophia said. They will frame you as unstable. They will frame him as patient. They will frame coercion as care. Serena's voice was quiet. It's what people already want to believe. Sophia nodded. Yes, because it makes them comfortable. If they admit he can do this, they have to admit it can happen to anyone. Serena's stomach churned. Then Sophia said, "We do not argue with their version. We present reality, clean and documented." Sophia filed formal proceedings for protective orders and initiated a complaint trail linked to the Santorini police report, consular records, hotel logs, and witness statements. The hotel receptionist provided a written statement confirming Serena never requested passport storage, and the Caleb's team collected the Wi-Fi code. The boat company confirmed the private booking and listed the crew. And then, Adrian provided the internal instruction chain. It showed a clear attempt to cancel Serena's return ticket and restrict her access under the guise of well-being support. It also showed something else. An earlier incident, a case number, a compliance note. Adrian flagged it with one line. "This is older. It is not the first time." Serena stared at that message until her eyes ached. Sophia leaned in. "This is your Part 2 seed, Serena. Not for the internet, for your safety. This suggests a pattern. We will investigate, quietly." Serena's voice was barely above a whisper. "How many women?" Sophia did not answer directly. She did not need to. A week later, Serena received an invitation, not from Caleb, from a senior trustee, a meeting request at a private office in Mayfair. Serena walked into the room with Sophia by her side. 3 trustees sat at a table, 2 men, 1 woman. The woman, Eleanor Whitmore, looked at Serena with a measured expression, not kind, not cruel, assessing. Eleanor said, "Serena Mensah, I'm sorry for the distress you experienced." Serena kept her face calm. "Distress is a small word." Eleanor's jaw tightened slightly. "Perhaps. The trustees have reviewed evidence. We have frozen Caleb's discretionary access pending full investigation." Serena nodded. "Good." One of the men cleared his throat. "We would like to understand what you want." Serena stared at him. There it was again. Power expecting negotiation, as if safety was a transaction. Serena's voice was steady. "I want to be left alone. I want him to stop contacting me. I want you to make it clear that your wealth cannot be used to trap people." Eleanor leaned back slightly. "Caleb believes you are doing this for money." Serena laughed once, sharp. "Of course he does," Sophia spoke calmly. "Serena's independent trust exists. She has no need for Caleb's money. The question is whether Caleb used his influence to coerce her and obstruct her freedom of movement." One of the trustees shifted. "He says he was protecting her." Serena leaned forward, eyes locked. "Protecting me would have meant asking what I needed, not taking my passport, not cutting my Wi-Fi, not placing security at the door like I was a prisoner." Silence. Eleanor's gaze held Serena's. "You are very composed." Serena's voice stayed flat. "I have had to be." Eleanor exhaled slowly, as if something inside her was recalibrating. Then she said, "Caleb will be instructed to cease all direct contact. If he breaches, further consequences will follow." Serena nodded, but she did not relax, because she had learned a hard truth. Some systems only behave when they are watched. When Serena left the building, the air outside felt different, not lighter, clearer. Sophia walked beside her. "You did well." Serena's eyes burned. "I'm angry." Sophia nodded. "Good. Anger is a boundary that learned to speak." In the following days, Caleb's world began to wobble. Not because one woman challenged him, because documents did. Because the consulate record existed. Because the hotel statement existed. Because the internal instruction chain existed. Because trustees froze access. Because tabloids asked questions. Because people inside the machine started to leak, not out of virtue, but out of survival. Caleb appeared once, outside Serena's building, not at the door, across the street, watching. Serena saw him through the glass. He looked smaller than she remembered, not because he had lost wealth, because he had lost certainty. Serena did not go outside. She called Sophia. Sophia contacted his counsel. He left. That night, Serena sat alone in her flat, key in her hand, her father's key. She turned it over and over, feeling the weight. She thought about Santorini, the bright white walls, the perfect photos, the way fear had tried to disguise itself as luxury. She thought about how close she had come to being rewritten, a missing woman, a tragic accident, a stressed fiancé who misplaced her passport, a story told by people with money. Then she thought about all the women who did not have a key, who did not have a father who planned for the worst, who did not have a Sophia, who did not have a consulate contact or a paper trail, who signed abroad because they were tired, because they were pressured, because they were told it was romantic to trust. Serena stared at the wall, breathing slowly. Then she opened her laptop. Not to spiral, to build. She started drafting a plan, a legal fund, not a charity built on pity, but a structure built on protection, support for women pressured into signing documents abroad, emergency legal advice, consular guidance, a hotline that explained rights in plain language, a network of solicitors who understood coercion that smiled, a list of red flags, not written to scare, but written to sharpen instincts. She called it the Keyline Fund, because the point was simple. Every woman deserved a line she could cross to safety. Within months, the Keyline Fund had partners. Sophia connected Serena with other lawyers. Helena introduced her to advocates who understood international coercion cases. Adrian, carefully, quietly, provided financial compliance guidance on how to spot unauthorized instructions. Serena did interviews on her terms, not messy, not loud, clear. She said, "If someone loves you, they do not isolate you. They do not take your documents. They do not call control protection. They do not rush your signatures like your consent is an inconvenience." She said, "If your relationship becomes a legal trap, that is not romance. That is a risk." And when journalists tried to frame it as a celebrity scandal, Serena brought it back to reality. This is not about a billionaire. This is about a pattern. Money just makes the pattern easier to hide. Caleb's team tried to counter, tried to pivot, tried to bury it under distractions. But the question mark headline had done its job. It had invited the world to look. And once people looked, they started seeing other things. A former employee came forward with stories about Caleb's temper behind closed doors. A former girlfriend posted a cryptic message that went viral. A second case number surfaced, tied to a sealed compliance report. Not proof yet, but a shadow, a shape, a warning. Serena never said too much publicly about that part. She let Sophia handle it, because Serena's goal was not revenge, it was accountability. And accountability had to be clean to last. 1 year after Santorini, Serena stood at a small podium in a bright community hall, speaking to a room full of women, some young, some older, all listening like they had been waiting for someone to name what they had lived. Serena looked down at her notes, then set them aside. She spoke without them. "I used to think dignity was something you kept quiet," she said. "I used to think if I stayed calm enough, careful enough, polite enough, nobody could hurt me." She paused, eyes scanning the room. But harm does not always come in fists. Sometimes it comes in paperwork. Sometimes it comes in a smile. Sometimes it comes in a man saying, "Trust me," while he takes your passport. A murmur moved through the room. Serena's voice stayed steady. "I am standing here because my father loved me enough to plan for a world that is not always kind. But I also learned something else." She leaned in slightly. "Your safety is not something you earn by being perfect. Your safety is a right, and anyone who makes you feel guilty for protecting yourself is telling on themselves." She looked at the women in front of her. "If you take one thing from my story, take this. Never confuse pressure with love. Love does not hurry your consent. Love does not isolate you. Love does not need you to be quiet to work." Serena stepped back from the microphone. People stood, not cheering, not celebrating, recognizing. After the event, Sophia walked up beside her and handed her a small envelope. Serena raised an eyebrow. An envelope? Really? Sophia smirked. Not that kind. It's from Hargreaves and Crown. Your father left one more item in the box. It was logged separately. Serena's heart tightened. She opened it slowly. Inside was a small memory card, sealed, labeled in her father's handwriting. For later, if needed. Serena stared at it. A new lever, a new mystery, a quiet reminder that her father had layers to his protection. Sophia watched her. We do not open it unless we have to. Serena nodded, slipping it into her bag. Because the story was complete enough for now. She was safe. She was free. She had built something that could keep other women free too. But somewhere in the distance, beyond the headlines and the frozen payouts, beyond the polished image Caleb once wore like armor, there was still a thread that needed pulling. And if Serena ever had to pull it, she would, not as a frightened fiancé in a foreign suite, but as a woman with a key, a fund, a legal team, and a name that could not be erased. So if you are listening to this and something in your chest tightened, if a memory surfaced, if a red flag you ignored suddenly feels louder, hold on to that. That is your instincts trying to protect you. And you do not need permission to listen. You do not need anyone's approval to pause, to ask questions, to refuse, to walk away, to get advice, to keep your documents, to keep your freedom. You are not difficult for wanting clarity. You are not dramatic for wanting safety. You are wise. And in a world that often rewards people who control others, wisdom is a form of power they cannot stand. If this story meant something to you, share it with someone who needs it. And if you have ever felt pressured to sign, pressured to stay quiet, pressured to accept control dressed up as love, I want you to remember one simple truth. Real love does not try to make you disappear. It makes room for you to be fully seen.